Someone leaves you on red. That's it. That's the whole event. A small gray word that says "seen" and no reply. And somehow your entire day tilts. You start replaying everything. What you said, how it sounded, whether they're annoyed, whether you did something, whether this is the beginning of them pulling away, a neutral face across the room, a text that ends with a period instead of an exclamation mark, and your stomach drops like something is ending. You tell yourself, why am I like this? It's not even a big deal. So you call yourself too sensitive, too much, dramatic. You bury the feeling and pretend it didn't gut you. But you're not being dramatic. That reaction is real, and it makes complete sense once you understand what rejection actually does inside your brain, and why yours feels it louder than most. Welcome back to Thinking Ground. Today we're going to look at why rejection can hurt so much more than the situation seems to deserve. Why a tiny slight can flatten you for a day, while it barely registers for someone else. By the end, you'll stop asking what's wrong with you because there's a clear answer and it isn't a flaw. Let's start with what's actually happening. There's a trait in psychology with a very precise name: rejection sensitivity. It was mapped out by a researcher named Geraldine Downey at Columbia University, and it describes a specific pattern. Some people's brains are set to anxiously expect rejection, to spot it faster, and to react to it far more intensely than others. Here's the key part. It's not that you feel rejection when others don't. It's that your threat detection system, driven by a small almond-shaped region called the amygdala, is running at a higher volume. It's constantly scanning your social world for the faintest sign that you're about to be pushed away. Imagine a stereo where the volume knob is jammed near maximum. Someone else hears a whisper as a whisper. You hear that same whisper as a shout. The signal coming in is small, a delayed reply, a flat tone. But the gain inside you is cranked so high that it lands like a scream. The pain is real. The dial is just turned up. That's the mechanism. Now let's look at why your dial got turned up in the first place. Take a moment and look back, because nobody is born scanning for rejection. Your brain learned to. If, early on, love felt reliable, if the people who mattered stayed warm even when you messed up, your system learned that connection is safe, and a small conflict isn't a threat. But if affection was conditional, or unpredictable, or could turn cold without warning, your brain learned something else entirely. It learned to watch, to read faces for the first flicker of disapproval, to catch rejection early before it could hurt you. That hypervigilance wasn't paranoia, it was intelligence. A child in an uncertain environment who learns to detect withdrawal a moment sooner is a child who can adapt, soften, fix it, and survive it. So the sensitivity you carry now isn't weakness. It's a finely tuned early warning system you built as a kid because you needed one. The trouble is, it never got switched off. It's still scanning every text, every pause, every glance, for a danger that mostly isn't there anymore. So here's why a small rejection can hit like a large one. 3 reasons. 1. Your brain rejects you before anyone else gets the chance. Because it's braced for rejection, it starts predicting it. You walk into the room already half expecting to be left out, and once your brain is looking for a thing, it finds it everywhere. In a short reply, in someone's mood that has nothing to do with you. You're not reacting to what happened, you're reacting to what you were already sure was about to. 2. You fill the silence with the worst possible story. An unanswered message is just an unanswered message. It has 100 boring explanations. They're busy, they're tired, they fell asleep. But a rejection-sensitive brain doesn't sit in the not knowing. It reaches for the most painful reading and calls it the truth. They're done with me. You're not responding to a fact. You're responding to a story you wrote in the gap. And if you know someone who spirals over things that seem small to you, this is what's happening inside them. They're not overreacting to nothing. They're reacting to the story their brain filled in. 3. Every rejection reopens all the others. This is the deepest one. When today's small no lands, it doesn't land alone. It presses on every old moment you felt unwanted. Every time you were picked last, left out, or made to feel like too much. So a minor slight arrives carrying the emotional weight of a lifetime. You feel like you're overreacting to today, but you're not. You're feeling all of it at once. So what do you do with this? First, name it in the moment. When the wave hits, tell yourself the plain truth. This is my sensitivity firing, not proof of anything. Just naming it turns the volume down a notch, because now a part of you is watching the alarm instead of believing it. Second, separate the fact from the story. Write down what actually happened. They haven't replied. And then, separately, the story you added. They hate me now. Seeing the gap between the two breaks the spell. The fact is rarely the thing hurting you. The story is. And third, don't act from the first wave. That first surge of panic is the loudest and the least accurate. Let it pass before you send the anxious triple text, before you withdraw, before you decide what it means. 90 seconds of not reacting is often the whole difference. Think of an old bruise. When someone brushes against it, it hurts far more than that light touch should. Not because you're fragile, but because the spot was already tender. That's all this is. The touch is small. The place it lands was hurt a long time ago. You are not too sensitive. You are someone who learned, early, to feel the smallest signs of being left. And that same sensitivity that aches now is the same one that makes you kind and tuned in and able to feel people deeply. Jung said the most terrifying and most freeing thing is to accept yourself completely. Because the day their approval stops deciding your worth is the day the volume finally comes down on its own. If this made something click tonight, subscribe. And if someone you love feels rejection harder than they should, send it to them. They were never too much. Leave a dot below so we know you're here.